which covers from Arthur's Pass up in the hills down to Akaroa, Banks Peninsula. I'm also the Minister for the Environment, the Minister for ICT, and the Associate Earthquake Recovery Minister. So, Billy Osteen.
All right, hey guys, I'm Billy Osteen. I'm a lecturer at the College of Education. And since the earthquakes in February, have worked pretty closely with the Student Volunteer Army to set up Christchurch 101, which is the first explicit service learning course in New Zealand at a university. And so we've been doing a lot of work with trying to figure out how to utilize the energy and the momentum that was generated about students wanting to go do service, and particularly related to the earthquakes, and pull that back into your studies. And was pleased to see last week that as part of the UC Futures campaign that there is a move to try to set up a Center for Community Engagement here. So, thanks.
Evening, my name is Tony Sumner. I'm the Service Manager for Marine Energy, and I'm also the Senior Instructor for the Army Reserve Leadership Training. So we'll talk a little bit about that later on.
G'day folks, John Laurenson's my name. I'm the Headmaster at Shirley Boys, have been for 17 years, and my major claim to fame is after I turned 60 I began to ask some important questions and I didn't like the answers.
Hi everyone, my name is Erin Jackson. I'm President of the University of Canterbury Students Association, and I'm also, along with Billy, a Trustee on the Volunteer Army Foundation, and so I'm a graduate of UC, and so this is my 6th year here working full-time for UCSA.
G'day, I'm Steve Jones. I'm Sergeant for the Riccarton Neighbourhood Policing Team. Probably covers it.
Steve Jones was the point of inspiration, the seed, if you will, for our most recent project, which is Whānui, which kicks off on the 19th of August, which is building a garden or school community garden for Whānui Primary. Tonight we're going to be talking about community involvement and leadership. And behind that, just for a little bit of context, I would like to say that I think that community service, community involvement, volunteering, however you want to say it, it's this multidisciplinary thing that reaches into the roots of every aspect of society. It's something that's so ingrained that you could never really sift it apart. And I believe that each of our guests here tonight are representatives of some aspect of showing that in our community. And I'd like to say that whether it's 4 hours or 40 hours, it doesn't matter. Whether you are loud and proud as a leader or you're quiet in the back room. Whether it's speaking to someone, holding a shovel, or being behind a computer, you can get involved in any way. And I'd like to kick off with our first question, which is, as a community leader, what are some of your key goals in your respective fields? And I'm not really going to make you go in a circle or down the line. I'd just like people to step forward with their answers, and I can say the question again.
Wrong question here.
Okay.
Just so you think about it.
As a community leader, what are some of the key goals in your respective fields?
I'll jump in. Brilliant. With the neighbourhood policing team, I guess our key goals is we're focused on a different aspect of policing to the standard policing roles, and I've been given the privilege and opportunity to try a different style of policing, and it's really getting back to the basics of policing. And so one of our key goals is to get out involved in our community, get to know them, get them to know us, but actually act. A bit like Grace said, act as an inspiration, a bit of a springboard of ideas around it, to bring some people together to build that community up. And one of the great things I've found since I've been doing this is that there's just a whole range of people out there in many different fields who are just really keen and passionate about doing things to help people in that. And it's just sometimes just bringing those two people together can springboard into some good things happening. The other thing that I've realised as I go around the community is that a lot of the time it's not the big projects that make the difference. I mean, they're great, they're good, and they need to be done, but it's those everyday actions. I got complimented by a member of the public one day as I'm walking down the street. There's a broken beer bottle lying on the footpath, and and I just stopped, picked it up, chucked it in the recycle bin. It was out on the street. And just little actions like that speak a lot, and that's something that everybody can do in the everyday thing. So you don't have to always be doing those big things. It's those little things build up as well. That's sort of cover.
Yeah.
As a guest.
I'll jump in one end of the table to the other. So I was just thinking about it while Steve was talking, because I guess it's different for all of us. And my role as a member of parliament is, well, I guess you go a step back. The reason I do this job is because I saw it as a way that I could contribute. And you don't go into probably any of the roles that any of us have got unless you've got that kind of desire to want to get involved. And one of the things that I guess I'm kind of passionate about, and it seems slightly unrelated, is just trying to get people engaged in the process. The one thing that drives me mad, actually, and I mean really mad, is that as New Zealanders we're really good at sitting home and kind of what I call shouting at the telly. But we don't actually step up and get involved and have a go at, and I don't believe I've got all the answers. I don't pretend to even have the beginnings of all the answers. But what I guess I did have was a feeling that if I didn't like what was happening, then the least I could do was try and get involved and do something about it. And I think Steve's 100% right, that it's not necessarily, you don't have to do it in Parliament, you don't have to do it in Council, you don't have to do it in a formal way. Sometimes it's just about, some local little thing that you see that's not working right. And so if I guess can do anything, I like to try and get people involved in whatever the decisions are that are affecting them. And one of the quotes that stuck with me is, decisions are made by the people who show up, and I don't think, frankly, we show up very often. So I guess my one of the key things that I try and do in that is just get people thinking about how they can play a part, be involved at whatever level it is in the hierarchy. Because frankly, if you're not stepping into the arena, you haven't got much of a basis for complaining if you don't like where things are going. So I guess that would be one of the cool things I'd want to say.
So within my role, basically what the UCSA seeks to do on campus is to facilitate the best possible student experience that we can. So that kind of happens in a couple of different ways. So it happens in terms of representation in our services, so like our activities and events, communications, welfare and advocacy teams, and also our commercial aspects. So what that kind of means for us in terms of sort of a service aspect is facilitating as many opportunities as possible. So we've got 136 clubs that are affiliated to the UCSA, which means that we work really closely with saying, how can we help clubs do what they want to do within their community, whether that's community on campus or it's slightly wider field. And that's where, harking back to 2010, when we saw the SVA sort of first established from that club, it's through that kind of support. And so what I see I'm really lucky to be able to do is we can try and help people who have ideas or have sort of chances and say, here's some people that could be helpful, here's some resources, here's some knowledge, or here's some funding. And I think that, sort of going full circle, being here is quite special, because up in the corner around the Anzac of the Year trophy, which the SVA was awarded in April this year, and we sort of wanted to make sure it was here in the sort of, the heart of where students were. And I think that kind of, the day that we actually wheeled it, and it's 110 kgs, it's really heavy, and wheeled it in on the trolley, was a really cool sort of symbolism of the fact that we've been able to facilitate and help students who have ideas get to a certain point. And so from where I am, it's not about what the UCSA is doing and leading the charge, but how we can facilitate other people to get to that point and give them opportunities to do so.
I think building on Erin's point, the university has a statement of strategic intent. Can anybody tell me what it is? Come on, it's on banners and posters around here. Don't you know what it is? You know what it is, Grace.
Change the world.
Change the world, right? And ironically, Rod Carr pushed that through shortly after he was appointed as Vice Chancellor back in 2009. It was met with a bit of cynicism, a bit of well, what does that mean, by a lot of academics, a lot of my colleagues, who maybe, as Amy is describing, are more attuned to being critics of society, right? Instead of going, oh, yeah, whatever, change the world. And one of the things that I've seen happen is that the world can be changed in both small acts, like picking up a beer bottle on the side of the street, or it can be changed in larger acts, such as getting 9,000 volunteers out to shovel however many hundreds of thousands of tons of silt that the Student Volunteer Army did. And the trick is to figure out, from my perspective, so Erin's talking about providing the students with an experience outside of the curriculum. And so one of the things that I've been working on for 20 years as a teacher is figuring out, well, how do we do these cool things, these change the world kind of things within the curriculum? So that maybe it's not enough to go sit in the lecture theater back here for 12 weeks and listen to somebody yammer on about chemistry 111 or sociology 112 or whatever it is. Maybe there's some kind of element that we have to include that includes changing the world, or invites you to consider how acts such as picking up a beer bottle, that does constitute changing the world. How can you think about different ways to go about using the privilege that you've got to be a student at a university and fulfilling the obligations and the responsibilities that should entail also. So the key goals for me is sort of on the academic side of what Erin's describing, is to figure out how we as a university provide you, or with students here, with the best possible academic experience, so that you leave here pretty charged up and you're ready to engage in the world and help change it.
Just as a disclaimer, some of our guests are actually post-university,
Okay.
or non-university. Cool.
John, can I chuck a couple of thoughts at you? Because you're all very quiet, and I prefer an audience where eyes are bulging and veins are pulsing in your forehead. I've got to get you going. Absolutely right. The first principles are you learn to pick up a beer bottle. No argument with that. Little steps. The next step is to shovel tons and tons of silt because you're helping the community. No argument with that. But the real task of people like yourselves is to start questioning the system. Because the system is the thing that unless you change, you're doomed to keep on repeating the same thing year after year after year. My people in education, I became a teacher for the same reason I suspect that you will have fond memories, in hopefully most cases, of schools. Teachers who opened doorways for me. English, history, geography are my fields. Who recited a poem and I thought, oh wow, I'm moved to tears. You know, the sort of thing. It could be happening in mathematics, whatever your fields are. But in the field of education, we are told all the time, out of the College of Education, where I went in about 1973, in those days, the phrase in Maori I won't repeat, but the phrase is simple. It takes a whole village to educate a child. You've heard it all before. It's true. The trouble is none of you guys actually put it into practice. Nobody in the College of Ed does. Nobody in secondary schools or primary schools or kindergartens or early childhood centres, they don't put it into practice at all. They nod their head and they say, yeah, cool. But what they don't do is effectively look at what is implied in it takes a whole village to educate a child. So what my mission is in life now, that I've passed 60 and all I really care about is working with my grandkids and teaching them to read and play and motorbikes and stuff like that. You know, the sort of thing, well you don't, you're too young, but you know the sort of thing where I'm going. What I care about is using the earthquake in Christchurch as an opportunity for starting something completely new. I've had no traction with the minister, a wonderful lady, a decent lady, an intelligent lady, but caught by all sorts of issues overwhelming her at the moment. So the option for real innovation and real change, no, not going to be taken at all. You people, and I'm using the term generally, in my day with progressive youth movement, the PYM and Mr. Muldoon in Vietnam would have been charging around the place making